Avalon is not just a name plucked from the mists of old legends or a chapter in medieval fairy tales. It is far more than an island of dreams whispered through folklore or a mystical destination in the stories of King Arthur. Avalon is a frequency, an ancient, sacred rhythm that pulses just beneath the surface of modern life, deliberately veiled in myth to keep you from remembering its profound truth. You've likely heard the name in connection with enchanted lakes, priestesses in flowing robes, and a sword known as Excalibur. Avalon, they say, was the place where Arthur went to be healed after his final battle, a paradise hidden from the eyes of mortals. But what if this island of healing and harmony was not lost by accident? What if Avalon was never meant to be found on a map, but rather within you? What if the legends were not lies, but coded memories? This journey is not about uncovering a lost location, but about remembering a forgotten consciousness. It's about lifting the veil that has for centuries shrouded Avalon in fantasy and rediscovering the sacred truth embedded in your own soul. If you've ever felt a strange pull when hearing the name Avalon, if the image of mist, orchards, and moonlight stirs something ancient within you, you are not imagining it. That feeling is a signal, a thread, a memory trying to reawaken. In this deep dive, we'll unravel the full story of Avalon, from its roots in Celtic tradition and Arthurian myth, to the healing legacy of its priestesses, the deliberate suppression of its sacred feminine wisdom, and how its spirit continues to live within us today. This isn't just a story. It's an invitation, a call to remember. Where myth and memory converge, Avalon's origins in Celtic lore. Avalon's mythological foundation lies deeply rooted in the rich and complex spiritual landscape of the Celts. Long before medieval scribes wove Arthurian romances, Avalon existed in oral traditions and esoteric beliefs passed through generations. Our first written encounter with Avalon comes from Geoffrey of Monmouth's Historia Regum Britanniae, circa 1136, where he refers to it as Insula Pomorum, the Isle of Apple Trees. This description links Avalon to the Welsh Ynys Afalac, both names symbolizing abundance, wisdom, and connection to the otherworld. For the Celts, apples were sacred fruits that bridged worlds. They held the keys to other dimensions and spiritual insight. Celtic mythology abounds with tales of otherworldly isles, Tir na Nog, Emaina Blach, and the Blessed Isles, each offering eternal youth, deep healing, and spiritual renewal. These places were not locations in a geographical sense. They were liminal spaces existing between worlds, where time flowed differently and the soul could remember its original state of harmony. Avalon, within this framework, is not a fantasy. It's a reflection of a very real spiritual realm, a place where the veil between dimensions is thin, and divine truths are accessible to those who seek with sincerity. Glastonbury and the living memory of Avalon. One of the most powerful portals to Avalon's energy in our physical world is Glastonbury Tor, a striking hill in Somerset, England. Rising above flat, marshy terrain, it was once surrounded by water, making it, fittingly, an island. Many believe this landscape is the real-world reflection of Avalon. In the 12th century, Glastonbury Abbey monks claimed to have discovered King Arthur's grave at the site, thereby reinforcing the Avalon connection. Yet many historians suspect this discovery was politically motivated, a way to draw pilgrims, prestige, and resources to the monastery. But beneath that historical maneuvering lies a deeper truth. The land itself carries memory. The Tor was long regarded as sacred by pre-Christian Celts. It was associated with Gwyn ap Nudd, the Welsh lord of the wild hunt and guardian of the dead, who led spirits to the otherworld during Samhain, the Celtic New Year when the veil between worlds was thinnest. Its spiral terraces are thought by some to be remnants of ancient ceremonial pathways, aligning with celestial bodies and natural energies. Whether literal or symbolic, these spirals echo the journey inward, the path to Avalon that winds not just through terrain, but through consciousness. The priestesses of Avalon, keepers of earth, spirit, and sound. Central to Avalon's power were its priestesses, mystics, healers, and guardians of sacred feminine wisdom. These were not fictional witches from a medieval imagination. They were women deeply attuned to the rhythms of nature, the healing frequencies of the earth, and the movement of the stars. The most iconic of these figures is the Lady of the Lake, often identified as Vivian. She is remembered for gifting Excalibur to Arthur, a sword not just of war, but of spiritual authority and divine truth. Through water, she conveyed wisdom. Through silence, she held power. Morgan Le Fay, Arthur's half-sister, is perhaps Avalon's most misunderstood priestess. Once a revered healer and shapeshifter, Morgan became vilified in Christianized retellings, transformed from wise oracle into malevolent sorceress. In original tales, Morgan and her 8 sisters, the 9 Morgans, served as midwives to the soul, guiding those who entered Avalon through healing, initiation, and rebirth. These women worked with herbs, sound, ritual, and intention. Their knowledge was encoded in the land itself, especially in places like the Chalice Well, a red spring at the foot of Glastonbury Tor. Said to hold the blood of Christ or the waters of the Grail, this spring is still considered sacred, emanating energies believed to heal and realign. Their ceremonies aligned with lunar cycles and seasonal festivals like Beltane and Samhain. They honored the divine feminine not as an abstract concept, but as an active, vibrant presence in every tree, every stream, every breath. The Great Suppression, how Avalon was veiled. Avalon's disappearance from public consciousness did not happen by chance. As Christianity spread throughout the British Isles, the indigenous spiritual systems, particularly those led by women, came under threat. The Church labeled these traditions as pagan, their rituals as heretical, and their wisdom as dangerous. The priestesses of Avalon were particularly threatening to a rising patriarchal order that sought to centralize power. The feminine archetypes they embodied, sovereignty, intuition, sensuality, and connection to nature, were incompatible with the emerging dogma of sin, control, and separation. Over time, Avalon was relegated to the realm of fairy tales. Vivian became a fairy queen. Morgan Le Fay became a temptress. The sacred island became a story for children, not a living memory for spiritual seekers. And yet, Avalon endured. The whisper beneath the noise, Avalon's frequency today. Avalon was never truly lost, it simply went into hiding. Its energy, like an underground river, continued to flow through the roots of the earth and the hearts of those who remembered. Today, that energy is rising again, felt in the spiritual resurgence happening across the globe. You may feel Avalon's call in moments of stillness, in dreams of mist and water, in an unexplainable pull toward ancient stone circles, or in the longing for a more natural, soul-aligned life. These are not coincidences. These are activations. Esoteric teachings suggest that many souls who once lived in Avalon have reincarnated in modern times. Sensitive, intuitive, and restless in the confines of mainstream society, these individuals often feel a deep yearning for purpose, connection, and truth. They are drawn to healing arts, to nature, to the divine feminine. You might be one of them. Reawakening the spirit of Avalon, practical ways to remember. So how do we begin to remember Avalon? Not just as an idea, but as a living reality. Connect with water. Sit beside a river or spring. Imagine Avalon's waters flowing through you, washing away what no longer serves. Let the stillness guide you inward. Work with apples and crystals. Apples, sacred in Celtic lore, represent wisdom and initiation. Crystals like quartz, rose quartz, and moonstone align with Avalon's healing frequency. Use them with intention. Honor lunar cycles and the wheel of the year. Celebrate the Sabbats, Beltane, Samhain, Imbolc, as the priestesses once did. These dates mark natural shifts in energy. Let them guide your own cycles of growth. Chant or use sound for alignment. The priestesses believed in the power of vibration. Chant simple tones or listen to music with healing frequencies to realign your body and spirit. Visit sacred sites. If possible, travel to places like Glastonbury Tor or ancient stone circles. But even local natural sites can serve as powerful portals when visited with reverence. Trust your inner vision. Whether through dreams, intuition, or synchronicities, trust what arises. The journey to Avalon is less about logic and more about feeling. Why they feared Avalon, and why you're meant to remember. Why was Avalon buried in myth? Because it offered something revolutionary, a vision of the world where divinity wasn't distant or male, but present, natural, and feminine. Where power didn't come from hierarchy, but from harmony. Where healing was a birthright, not a commodity. Systems built on domination fear the sovereign soul. They fear a person who knows themselves, who listens to intuition over instruction, who connects with the earth instead of consuming it. When you remember Avalon, you remember who you truly are. And that remembrance threatens everything that profits from your forgetting. You are the new Avalon. Avalon does not need to be rediscovered. It needs to be reborn. And you are part of that rebirth. Every time you choose love over fear, silence over noise, intuition over indoctrination, you bring Avalon back. You carry its essence in your actions, your words, your healing. Every breath you take in alignment is a spell. Every choice to live authentically is a right. You are the keeper of its legacy. You are the living temple of its spirit. And if this story stirred something in you, then you are answering Avalon's call. Let us know in the comments. I remembered. Subscribe and stay tuned for the next journey. We're just getting started.